Hola. Welcome. Another fine episode of CAV HQ Live. I am your host, CAVBoss. And as usual, we will talk all things CAV. Hi, Chandler. How are you doing? I've been meaning to text you. How's your mom doing? Hopefully well. Good. That's good to hear. Yeah, my dad went through that a few years ago, so it's never a pleasant thing. My book has gone crazy here. All right. Clean this up right quick. I hate little things when you have your spiral notebooks and you tear pages out and you get those things drive me crazy. All right. Well, we all are. We hope anyway. I wish her a speedy recovery. All righty. I'll give everybody a few minutes to show up that wants to show up, and then we'll go from there. Always got your back, Chandler. What's up? Welcome to the chat. I'm giving everybody kind of time to show up. Tear into some things. Because I use my official Mercenary Bonding Authority notebook and third core pen for all my notes. Live it, man. Live it. Do. Well, hopefully we'll have a good show tonight. Hopefully everybody will be very talkative and have things to talk about. I spent most of the day packaging in the shop, which is always miserable. The only offset of it is that means orders are going out. That's exactly what it's made for. You can put your Drake coaster down, put your cup on it, and use it for painting. We are getting ready to put up what's left up on the web store. So if anybody wants extra copies of stuff or whatever, we'll have them up there they're relatively cheap. We're just trying to get rid of what we've got left. But also all the paint stands and the bases and everything like that. I just haven't had time to get them all loaded up. I ordered a set of brushes. It was a Facebook thing popped up, and I don't normally click on them, but I guess that's why they do them, because they do work. And I'm sure they're Chinese or whatever, but a set of acrylic brushes. They came in a really nice case and have been pretty good brushes so far. Like anything else, you can use crap brushes if you take care of them. I have to remember put those up because I've been very happy with them. I think they were $40 for the box, and I think there was 12 brushes in there, from small going up, but all the good sizes for painting. Should have never got still. Once you get still, you get tired. All right. Well, let's get going. Cthulhu, I see you're in the room. I understand we got your package all worked out, or you did anyway. So hopefully you got all that squared up. Good deal. Good deal. Well, I don't think it's anything that we did. So, but if we did, let us know. But hopefully, we can fix that next time. Side note: I found an error in the CAV Force Manager program. When you print your list out under essay description for EST is the same as ECM. I will check on that. I mean, I know you're right, but because there was a couple that I know that were messed up. All right, CAV, CP, ECM, and EST description, same. We'll see if we can't get that updated. We're kind of limited in what we can do with it now. We've lost contact with our programmer, so there's certain things that we can do with it, and there's certain things we're not going to be able to do. But that's one we can do. It's my post office. I left it on a porch on the opposite side of my town. See, and that's where those get squirrely, because I'm glad you got him to admit to that. I mean, we've had a couple of packages in the past that got misdelivered, and we talked to the post office, and hey, we've got insurance, and, let's get all this squared away. And they're like, well, we're showing it was delivered. And I'm like, well, my customer is saying that it's not, that they were there and nobody left it. And well, the carrier says it's there. So somebody must have stole it. Well, bastards. I know, Kruger, that Tiger Wraith has a set of those and put them up. You might check with him and see about getting them updated and working on, because I know he had them up and going at one point for Battle Scribe. He worked on it for quite a while. Like I said, our main focus going forward is going to be an online version where you'll just be able to go to the website and pull it up. So that way that'll fix the Mac problems and I think be a better program overall. Yeah. That's originally what I wanted, and that's originally what I thought I was getting, but that's neither here nor there. So, but it's cool. We're going to get it all squared away. It's just kind of down on the list right now. I believe so, Chandler. I mean, I think I've given you it all before, didn't I? I thought you had me. I put it in a folder for you one time that you were going to look at it. I think I did. Maybe one of us is misremembering. Then we'll take a list on how to place an order with Talon Games. That would be nice. No more out-of-date info errors. I don't know which ones are. All right. Well, message me tomorrow, and I will see if I can't put that up there. I thought everything was in there. But maybe not. Maybe we did something else. I don't know. But I think so. I think all the source code is there. If it's not, then it's off into the netherworld. On a web-hosted program. Yeah, well, and part of that is because if I do something new, it always had to go through 2 other people, and so I was kind of stuck with when they got to it and got around with it. So if I wasn't there cracking the whip every moment, it sometimes gets dragged out. And but yeah, and like I said, it's starting to show its age too, because there's new things that I want to do with it and stuff that it couldn't do that I originally wanted it to do, and with some of the new stuff that we're doing, I don't know that the program will support it. So, but yes, and it needs to be, and it needs to default to the color cards. That was one thing I always wanted it to do originally, was the color cards, and they couldn't make it work. So that's why we ended up with kind of the abridged black and white ones, which are fine, especially after you've played for a while and you're used to everything. The fact that it puts 10 of them to a page or whatever, it makes it a lot easier, when you're playing a game or whatever, just have a page or 2 of your models. But by the same token, I like it to be able to print the color cards. Because if I could get it to do the color cards like I wanted them to, then I wouldn't have to be hand making all the cards, so I can get those done a lot quicker too. But we have all the stuff to host it ourselves and everything. We run our own servers, so that side of it won't be a problem. Just finding somebody to do it and get it done. All right, so a couple of things, an update on the new initiative card deck. 2 things. One, as always, it's almost done, but we were talking to the printer, and the printer actually told us that they print in 18 card sheets. So if we get a deck of cards, I think the last deck had 56 cards in it. They actually go through and throw away what would have been another 16 cards, something like that. So as a result, I'm like, and it doesn't cost us anything extra to do the extra cards because they're already doing the thing. That seems silly that they don't say that up front. We just got to talking because one of the things that I want to do is be able to in the future add more cards for something special or whatever to the deal. So I was like, okay, so if we print up a deck of cards like we've done in the past with all our stuff, I said, how will this work if we want to add cards to it? And that started a different line of conversation, and that's one of the things I brought up. So what is the sweet point of where the cards is? And they're like, well, 18 cards to a sheet. And so I'm like, 18, 36, 72. I said, how does that work into 56 or 54 or whatever it is? And, or 56, because I think there was 56 cards in the deck. maybe it's 54, and maybe that's where they're. But anyway, so we've got extra cards, so we're having to get some more artwork and do the cards. So we've got a couple of little things that I want to do with them since we've got the extra cards. But I'm hoping to have those off to the printer next week for sure. Little change to the event cards that we had talked about earlier. We were trying to set those up so that those were specific to a side, so you had here's an event and this is what you had to do. I've kind of changed my mind on that, as I'm prone to do. And have the tactical cards will be the same, and they'll affect you individually as you go, but the event card is going to affect the board as a whole. And an event card will stay in play until the next event card comes up. So I found it very hard to come up with enough variety with trying to do things where I wanted, something that you had to do that particular action in order for something to happen. And there just wasn't enough really to do that with. So that's one of the reasons I'm switching. There's a lot more things I can add in as event cards. There's things too that that maybe, and that's one thing he's talking about with the extra cards and down the road or whatever, that we can have event cards that are tailored to a particular type of game board, whether you're playing a ice board or a desert board or something like that. The event cards that we're going to have in the initial deck are going to be generic enough that it's not going to be something weird like, you're playing on a desert board and a freak ice storm shows up. So I've seen some of those in other games, and then that just is really weird to me. Oh, freak ice storm on a desert planet. That kind of takes away from the suspension of belief there a little bit. So anyway, we're just cards are made. We're just waiting on artwork. We really pushed it to the limit for the cards that we had. So coming up with artwork for 16 more cards, but we're getting there. Another thing that I talked about a little bit, and like I said, you can start playing these now if you want to, but it's not anything that's coming in the errata right now. But when we do the updated rule book, which will initially be a PDF that you'll be able to download the actual rules section, and then we'll print that section in the rules of engagement book. I know that I talked about the stationary mod. And basically, disabled, immobile, and stationary were all the same thing. The only big difference there was, I think disabled is you can't use any actions as well. But that's an easy one to do. So rather than have 3 different model states, I want to combine them into one state. I think I talked originally about just make it disabled or just immobile or whatever. I'm just, the model state will be stationary. I think that's a better one that covers everything, and it also goes better with the, if you stand still as opposed to being, disabled and immobile sounds more a damage thing as a stationary. So stationary will be the catch-all state for that going forward. And like I said, stationary is going to be a +2 modifier to the attacker. So if you stand still and somebody shoots you, they're going to get a +2 to the roll. Now, a couple of things. People have, how that applies to some of the other modifiers and how that goes. And I gave a lot of thought to that. And I know we kind of covered some of this last week, but and I've had a couple of people that's talked to me about it, and they feel like I'm penalizing you for not moving. And it's not a penalty in the sense of that it is a penalty, okay? And called that, but it is in a way. And it's not that I'm penalizing you. I think I'm just taking into account a lot of games kind of do it on the opposite side, rather than, if you decide to move, they actually penalize you, to your attack, that you're +1 to your attack or whatever. And but the other side of that is, especially in BattleTech, you get rewarded for moving. So, if you move 5 or 6 hexes, you're +2 to hit. You're harder to hit. But I don't want to get into those tables. There's no reason to do that. That's the reason that double time is done the way that it is. It either is or it isn't. And that's the same way with stationary. It either is or it isn't. So rather than, change numbers around and make it so that, if you move, you're +2. If you're double time, you're +4. Whatever, all that stuff. You're taking the same numbers and the same thing. You're just relabeling them and changing up a lot different than it needs to be changed up. Also, we want the base state to be what the majority of the time you're going to be doing. So, the majority of the time, we hope that you're moving. So if you are moving, there's no reason to put any kind of a chip down or any kind of a token or anything, period. If there's nothing there, everybody knows that you moved. If you stayed still, you throw the chip down for stationary. If you're double time, you throw down the chip or token for double time. Other than that, I think that's the easiest way to do it. And so I'm okay with that. But, I know a couple people think I'm penalizing you for that, but I'm not. I think that I've always tried to approach every game rule in CAV with at least a semblance of reality to it. And in the grand scope of things, you are easier to hit if you don't move. If you're just standing out in the open and not doing anything, you are easier to hit. Whether you want to call it a penalty or not, what it is. Now, the offset of that is Overwatch. If you have to, you can't move basically if you do Overwatch. And I think that kind of goes with the thought process that goes in there. If you choose to stand out in the middle of the board and go in Overwatch, you should be easier to hit. It also keeps people from doing Overwatch all the time. I think that if you let everybody Overwatch without there being any kind of a modifier or anything like that, suddenly we're going to have a board of nobody moving and doing Overwatches, and that's not what I want it to be. Overwatch, defensive fire, things like that need to be really situational, and you need to make that decision if that's going to work for you, or the trade-off is here's the plus, now here's the minus. And really, Overwatch never had any kind of a penalty. I mean, it was other than you had to spend 2 actions, but it just Mastodons prefer people stay put. Yeah, for true. So and that's where it is, and that's the same thing as So you as a player makes you going to think where you need to be. Well, I haven't played XCOM, so I'm not sure if you're agreeing to what I'm saying or it's something different. But that's what I don't want there to be 20 models that move in a row and everybody claims Overwatch because everybody's waiting for everybody else to move. I think that sucks. Overwatch was always intended for, if you get somebody that is, using pop-up or is, using buildings or whatever to their advantage, or, incorporates. Yeah, you often sit in cover waiting for them to poke it. Yeah, and that just is, I don't know. That just takes away from what we're trying to do. CAV is a game, and I said that before. CAV is always meant to be a game of maneuver and direct shooting. That's what we want you to do. Everything, indirect fire, everything revolves around that. it's all secondary to that deal. And so with that in mind, that's the direction we're pushing it. So, if you want to do Overwatch, then you better choose a good spot to do it. Don't stand out in the middle of the board, do it. If you're trying to get a shot at a guy and you're worried about all those other guys, then make sure you got a hill or something between you. Or if you're going to, and that's where the cover mods and hold down and revetment and everything. I think that really brings them into really what they're meant to be, rather than making it super hard for you to hit somebody. Now it's, now you're able to go stationary and not necessarily be taking that stationary mod, because you're going to wash it out with either being in heavy woods, or if you're hauled down with a vehicle, or if you're in a revetment or whatever. That's really what those are meant to be anyway. So that's where it is, and I'm okay with the way it's going, and the way that it's set up. So hopefully I haven't made anybody mad or anything, but that's really, I think, where we need to be down the road. And it's something, if you want to start incorporating in your game, you can, because it is coming. It's coming down the pipe officially. Now, something that was brought up, and last week, I think when we were talking about this, I think Kruger brought up something about recon and all that, and losing some ability and stuff on the deal to try to keep moving. This was something that we had discussed back early on in development of the game, and it kind of got pushed to the side. But after we had that conversation, I think these are a good place to put those back in there. So one of the things that we tried to originally do with the game was make each squad type have something that was beneficial for them. So we have attack squads, we have fire support squads, we have recon squads, and the recon squad gets the card flipping deal and stuff like that to a degree that kept in there. But so what we're going to end up doing is when we do the update and whatnot, is a model with the task recon. Now, this is not a squad ability. This is the actual task ability. Will start receiving a 1 free target lock per activation. So you'll still have to spend action points to move, to use ECM or whatever. But if you want, you will be able to pick any model that you want to and declare a target lock without paying an action point. It'll become a free action for you. We'll end up adjusting the ECM and the APA a little bit as far as the way those act with harm missiles. But that's where that's going. So it's kind of like, yeah. Well, and I think that EST is a free action. So you'll be able to target lock somebody and then EST everybody in your squad. So that gives recon models even a little bit more of a reason for you to take. I mean, they're having a tough time as it is. It's not like they're going out and ruling the board, but it makes them a little more important to the game. Yeah, well, I was hoping that you would appreciate Kruger with some of the things that you brought up, and I think that addresses the problem that you were worried about. And again, it makes recon models what they're able to do. Now, on top of that is fire support models. So models with a fire support task, again, this isn't a squad ability, this is a task ability. Yes, if you take a flight squad with 2 recon models, it is considered a recon flight squad. Flight squads are the only thing that have 2 designations. So you can be, if you put 2 models of recon, it's a recon squad. If you put 2 models of attack, it's an attack squad. If you put 2 models of fire support, then it's fire support. 2 models of transport, however it goes, that's what kind of squad it becomes. So it's a flight and a extra squad. So we're okay with things like Cobra's doing a 26-inch move into an EST lock. Well, and that's what, that was, me and Ross had that conversation. Ross was like, oh crap, right off the bat, we're going to have recon guys down in the middle of the board spamming ECM and APA right off the bat. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I said that kind of goes with the style of the game we're playing. We want everybody to get engaged and get going. But if you want to run your recon guy and get him 30 inches away from everybody, hang his ass out, then you're gonna get what you get. And that also will make some of the smaller attack models a lot more important. You're going to start taking those for no other reason than to run those recon guys down that want to do that. But yes, if you want to run 26 inches out by itself, and that's something that gets done anyway. Especially if you get in a tournament game, that's a prime thing where when you have command points and you want to give somebody an extra action, I've seen that many times right off the bat. They give a third action to a recon, double move it, pop, ECM, whatever, and go. So, and really what you're talking about, the move has more to apply with ECM and APA. I mean, EST is, you can target lock it from anywhere on the board anyway. It's more determined on how far away you are from your own guys. So that's not going to change that at all, but certainly for ECM and APA it will. I think that the electronic side of the game is another whole level in it, and I know sometimes it gets kind of squirrely, but again, I like that. I think that it's another element to the game that you don't see in a lot of games. All right, so back to fire support. So when we do all these updates, fire support models, the task, not the squad, will receive a free target lock for strike points. So you will be able to target lock a strike point, not another model, but a strike point area as a free action. So that will make chain pods a little easier to use, things like that. And as a note, and I know we've discussed this, and I think it's in the errata already as an FAQ, you realize that there is a difference between when you target lock for fire support and when you target lock for direct fire. Every model in the game has a targeting computer. The difference is that's the reason why there's advanced targeting computers and, well, chain pods and FCS has already changed. Mortar squads are used. They're a little different because I think they already get a free target lock because I think the missile goes into that. I'll go back and double check, but we call infantry mortar squads attacks indirect, but they're a little different. It's kind of an indirect and a guided missile mixed together. Where if you go and look at the errata, where chain pods changed was you used to, if you had one squad and one guy had chain fire, he could share that with everybody else, whether they had chain fire or not. That's not the way it is anymore. For you to share with somebody, you have to have a chain fire pod as well. And I think the only thing that FCS changed was the number of how you could do it. You had to have, if you have 2 guys, you get a +1. If you have 3 or more, it's plus. Could it be external? Yes. You just have to have a chain pod, whether it's built into it or if you add it on. But you're going to pay the extra points for adding it on. And suddenly external chain fire pod. Well, and most of your fire support models already have chain fire pods. I think where it really kind of came into play and maybe was getting abused a little bit was an attack squad having a fire support model in it, and then them being able to chain fire pod or fire into their, and I didn't like that. So you do. It's just maxed out. I think if you have you and another guy with fire control in the squad, you get a +1. If you have 2 or more, then you just get a +2. If you go to the website and go to the downloads page and pull up the PDF file that's got all the special abilities and attributes, it kind of gets explained there. Because we've already updated that. Yeah, it requires 2 or more FCS equipped models in squad to use. So if you have 1 extra guy, you get a +1. If you have 2 or more guys, you get a +2. So it's capped at +2. You can't stack it and end up with a +6 or something like that. But like I said, when we do the update, fire control models with the task will have free target locks to their strike point. What I was going to explain is the difference between strike point locks and model locks. When you're shooting an indirect attack, and this is where the mortar squads are a little different. So this description does not apply to them. It sort of does, and it sort of doesn't. If you as a model want to, let's say you're going to use a recon guy to help EST everybody in on a strike point, okay? He is actually locking into the area on the ground. He is not locking onto the model. So you have to differentiate between the two. You're either locking onto the ground and helping with fire support, or you're locking onto the model and helping with direct fire. You can't do both. Well, some of the smaller ones don't. Yeah, I'm talking about the true. I mean, Hot probably should have one. I think because of something we did to it, it doesn't. But like the Spectres and stuff like that, they've all got chain pods and FCS. Some of the bigger ones. But, I mean, it's something that you can do, but you're going to pay for it. I mean, I think, to add a chain fire pod onto a Haunt's probably going to cost you 75 points, 60 points maybe. The recon task is just a free lock. So it can do a free lock against a model. It can do a free lock on a target point if it's helping out a fire support squad. that's not nearly as important now on the ground part if it's all fire support that's shooting onto the ground. But it would certainly help if you had multiple models, especially in a mixed squad, that's not able to do that. So if you had a couple of attack models that was trying to lay some rockets there, then you could still use your free target lock to target the ground. The fire support target lock is for a strike point location only. But I think that gives them a little extra flavor, makes them a little more special. So, but I don't think it's not a big change kind of a thing. But I think it'll help the game and help you a little bit with some of the guys that don't always live so long. But where mortars are a little different in the way that they do, they're actually more of a hybrid. Is the mortar squad actually has to choose a location on the board to shoot at. So where an enemy model is. And then they shoot the missile, the mortar, we call them mortar, but it's more of a missile in the game. And then if they are on point with their strike point, then that means the missile gets into the right location where it's supposed to be. And then at that point, I think it does its own lock-on. We're leaving attack squads as they are for that very reason. That's where they are. That's their special, because you can attack squads are unlimited. You can you can shove attack models in one right after the other. So that's their special purpose, is to attack. Just had something that went through my mind I wanted to clarify, but I forgot what it was. Maybe it'll come back to me here in a second. Oh, I was going to type this up the other day, and I meant to, because there was a question, and I think, Elmer, I think you were asking it in Discord or whatever, talking about multiple ECM and APA in one area and rolling against the, who you block and everything like that. And the description, the answer that James gave you is correct as it's set in the game right now. But when we do the update, one of the things that's going to come in there, rather than it being where you just roll against the highest guy, and then if you win, you knock both of them out. If you lose, then they both stay going. That's still going to work that way. The only difference is if there are multiple bubbles in the area that you're trying to do your jamming or whatever, they will be able to add pluses to that roll. So let's say you go into an area and you have APA and there's two guys with ECM spamming, and you've got one guy's a +1 and one guy's a +2 ECM. So normally you would roll against the two as the higher, and then if you win, you shut both of them down. If you don't, then you don't shut anybody down. Well, what we're going to do going forward is you will still roll against the +2 guy, but he will get a +1 to his roll for each additional guy that's in that circle. So you would do it exactly where they get a +1 because there's an extra guy. Yeah, they do, and that's the reason we originally had the way that you jam basically that way. You're only rolling against one guy. If you win, everybody you jam. If you don't, then nobody's jamming. even if the extra guy's a +2, yes. It's kind of like close combat for infantry, is he gets a +1 helper for every extra guy. It's not a matter of, you're already rolling against a guy with +2, so having another +2 system is not any better than the guy you're already going against. But because there is another guy you're trying to jam, he's going to get a +1 helper. Now, there'll also be a way where you, as a jammer, will be able to get a bonus. I'm not going to try to go over that tonight and confuse you anymore. But it's relatively simple, but you can have multiple guys start helping each other. It's just going to add another level to that deal. And it's not so much the overlapping effects, it's the overlapping of the models. So you as a, if you come on and you are, those two models are in your area of effect, then that's who you'll jam. You don't go by their circles, whether they overlap or not. It goes by those guys that are in your area of effect. And if they're currently not doing anything, or they haven't activated, it'll be adjusted for that. Yeah, it's teamwork. Again, these are all things that are going to help you think ahead and how you plan your squads and how you put your guys together. Because we want there to be a reason why you're taking somebody, whether you're taking 3 of the same attack guys so that you can really lay it down on somebody, or if you're wanting a recon guy to EST or whatever. We always wanted where you had to think a little ahead of time as to how you wanted everybody to work together, rather than just say, oh, I've got an extra 30 tons, I need to throw a 30-ton guy in here, or I've got 200 more points, what 200-point guy can I throw in there? Now you want to make sure that if you put a 200-point guy in there, is he really going to help you out, or is he just going to be baggage? But I'm super excited with the direction some of this stuff is going. We are kind of moving ahead. I know I've talked in the past that Herb Bias has been helping me with the Rules of Engagement book. That book is actually number 3 as to where we're trying to get. We're trying to get the first flashpoint out. We're trying to finish the JOR up, and then the Rules of Engagement. I talked to Herb earlier this week, and I have moved him over to help me finish getting the flashpoint together. Now remember that external ECMs and APAs cannot be jammed, or cannot jam. What we're talking about are internal ones only. So if you have ECM built into your model and you run into a circle of 6 guys spamming ECM because of their add-ons, there isn't even a roll. You automatically jam all 6 of them. But that's the way it's always been in the book. An external one will give you that ability, but it's not. They're not nearly as good as they're going to be. Yeah, no, right. Well, you can still use them to do ECM and APA things, but they don't have the ability to jam. They do the one thing. So you don't get to decide whether you're going to activate it or jam or fire harm missiles or whatever. The external pods, that's all they do, is you either can ECM or you can APA. But if you are being tried to be jammed by somebody that has a built-in one, then there is no roll. It automatically is jammed. And I know we had talked about, we'll probably do some kind of an add-on EST probably, things like that. But again, they're going to be real degraded. Yes, you can add those on there. And I'll have to go back and look, because I think the chain fire pods and the FCS too, or so, I'll have to look at the book to see. But the external ones are not nearly as good as the built-in ones. Hey, look here, I got a book here. Let's see here. All right, so like an external chain fire pod provides a model, the SA chain fire pod, but only allows one other model in the same squad to use that strike point location. So you would be able to put a chain fire pod external onto that guy, but it's going to be limited in what it can do. You'll either have to, you as a squad would, if you were going to do that, you would either have to share it just with him, or you would have to share it with the rest of the squad, and he wouldn't be able to use that because of the changes that we're talking about. We'll have to clarify those a little bit, but that's basically how that's going to work there. And then the fire control pod, we'll probably have to make a little adjustment to that so that it's not as good as the built-in one. Right now, it doesn't really have that on there, so we'll need to adjust that with the changes a little bit. So make a note. With my handy dandy third core pin. All right. All right, I think that's pretty much what I had to share tonight. We're continuing trying to get our the dual cast stuff out the door. We're getting there. I see light at the end of the tunnel. It's just been kind of a bigger learning curve than I expected, and we still one of the we had hoped that we would be able to produce all of our masters in-house, but cost-wise, and just the deal, it's not effective for us to go in and 3D print the number of masters that we need for a mold. So we're going to have to send that out. So we'll take that file, we'll send to the guys that are going to do our masters for us. They will send us back a set of masters, then we'll make our molds and go from there. So that's put a little bit of a once we get everything up and flowing, we've already talked to them. They know what kind of volume we're looking at. We do a lot of stuff with these guys in the past, so I'm not worried about that side of it. They're very professional. It's just a matter of we've got to get into their flow so that they know when to expect what we're going to do and everything like that. So that's part of it too, is where we're getting all our masters brought in so that we can continue to make more molds. But Herb is going to help me finish up the flashpoint, is what I was talking about. That will allow me to switch gears with the JOR. Where did you get those trees for the tournament table? I have just bought them from multiple places. Remind me if you message, because I know you sent me that email and I meant to do something about that for you and I forgot. So remind me if you message me tomorrow about the terrain thing, and I'll see what I can do. Because I have more trees here than I know what to do with. But I've just bought, Chandler, you can buy those trees. I get architecture trees because I think that I just like them better. I'm not real big on all the handmade ones and stuff, and there's a lot of Chinese ones that you can buy and stuff on there. They cost just a little bit more to buy them that way. But I'll see what I can come up with. I've thought about bringing that stuff in and selling it on the website. Would that be something people would be interested in, is have a ready source of trees that they can go to? Because I have a retail account with a company that we buy those from. So, I can bring those in and stock those. And we've talked about doing it in the past, but I didn't know if there was a whole lot of people wanting that. So, but you know me, I'll buy. Well, Chandler, and that's where the big deal is. I know you'll buy them, but do I have enough people to buy them to justify bringing them in? But I'll look and see what I can put together. A lot of those trees come from over in Europe. Germans, for some reason, Germans are big on making trees. There's like a dozen different tree making companies in Germany. But and that's because of the model railroads. They're much bigger into model railroading over there. It's very compact. And then, like I said, Herb's going to help me finish up the flashpoint. That way I can continue and get back into doing the JOR. We're making a little bit of adjustment on that too. We've been trying to get all of our artwork and our photographs and everything in. Again, I'm having to count on other people to do some of this, and it's not getting done. So I've kind of made an adjustment. My intention was that each JR entry would have at least two units, two paint schemes demonstrated and talked about. One was going to be, a color plate like we've done in the rule book and everything like that, and the other one was actually going to be a painted figure. Well, we're not getting the painted figures in that we were supposed to be getting in. That's a whole other thing there. So what we're going to kind of switch gears with is we're going to still have two units, but each one of them will have a color plate, artwork wise, and then we're going to take all the painted ones that we have painted so far and do like a 2 or 3 center page spread with those and show those as well. That way, that lets me get moving ahead and get kind of through the bottleneck of having to wait on other people doing what they should have already had done. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So you just have to deal with it and roll on. I'm getting very much, here in the last month, I've been very much more, what do we got to do to make this finish? Who can we get away from? Who do we not have to count on? Blah, blah, blah. Who can we get different to do it? And I've just got to a level where I'm just not messing with people anymore. I've tried. I can only spend so much time and throw so much money at you to get it done. And if you're not going to get it done, then I got to find somebody that is. That's always been a problem in this industry, is some of the professionalism. But that's another 10-hour show right there. But we are trying to move ahead. We're trying to do things. In the same token, everything else is falling out around me. Our air conditioner went out over the weekend, and you would think that all these air conditioning companies would be knocking on your door trying to sell you a new air conditioner. If you call them and say, hey, I need a new air conditioner. And I can't get nobody to return my phone calls. It's amazing. I'm like, it's just nuts. I don't understand why I can't get anybody to do things. So I guess it's not the professionalism just in the game industry. I guess it's as a whole. You just don't have people anymore that are able to do what they're supposed to do. We've had a couple of plumbing issues here that we've been trying to get a plumber to come in and finish up. And if you get one to talk to you, I'll be there in 5 or 6 weeks. Dude, I can't go 5 or 6 weeks without no plumbing. So we got to get this issue fixed. So if you live close to Wichita, Kansas, and you are in the plumbing business or the air conditioning business, you ought to get a hold of me. I got a for sure deal for you. So, all right. Well, guys, I'm going to call it a night. It's 9 o'clock. It's been a long day. I'm ready to get home. So I hope that we've had a good conversation. I hope you've liked everything that you've heard. I always enjoy talking CAV. So, and it's always good when I'm in a good mood and not wore out. So anyway, all right, guys. Well, take care. Keep playing CAV. Don't forget the forums. We've got those up. I've been trying my best to answer questions and follow through on there. I know there's a battle report that got put up that I was going to go over that I haven't had a chance to look at yet. But other than that, I think I've kept caught up with pretty much everything there. I did look at the Discord stuff the other day, and I was trying to put everything together for that, and I didn't get as far on that as I wanted. Chandler, don't forget to remind me on those two things tomorrow in the afternoon. Don't do it first thing in the morning because I'll forget by then. So try to get me in the early afternoon or whatever is the best time when stuff works. So anybody, take care, be good. Hug your significant other tonight and say that CAVBoss says, we love you. I'll see y'all later. Good night.